For some of us, awakening happens in a flash. It is instantaneous, it's spontaneous, and it's just a demonstration of grace. For the rest of us, the most of us, the majority of us, the way it works is that it's a gradual process. It unfolds over time. And in that, I'm kind of an expert, having extended it over long periods of time and sort of cycling and getting stuck in certain traps. And so today I want to share with you some of the mistakes that I made in the hopes that you can avoid them and really not need decades in order to come to know this greater reality. And so, I grew up in the 60s, and there was a lot of opportunity for many things to explore. I mean, things were coming onto the scene, many different ways of meditation, and certainly, sex, drugs, rock and roll. There was, this breaking of boundaries and this movement against the status quo, the establishment. And that afforded great opportunity to explore. And I had the blessing of an older brother who was also seeking at the time and who was passing books on to me to read, to check out. And one of the most profound was a book called The Master Game. And it talks about awakening, and it talks about enlightenment. It talked about the game of games, which is awakening to reality, to the true reality. And that inspired me to get into meditation, to pursue martial arts. It inspired me to explore in ways that were fortunately not diversions. And so I didn't get into all the drugs, sex, rock and roll came later, but it was it was a wonderful time. And one of the big mistakes I made was when I found something that resonated with me, is I assumed this was it. I assumed, this was for everybody. And I tried to convince my family, I tried to convince my poor brother to follow this same path and to learn the same meditation. And what came much later in life is this realization that each of us will be drawn to the path that resonates the most, that's most aligned for us. And that there are many paths up the mountain. And this assumption that my way is the true way is something I learned the hard way. And so it also, part of that also got me stuck in a couple of traps. And the first trap really was that I thought and was taught that meditation was all that was necessary in order to awaken, and never realizing that, yes, meditation is great. Don't mistake what I'm saying. I encourage you to meditate, but it's just the beginning. If we really want to accelerate the awakening process, there's so much more that we need to be doing. And that's so much more that there actually are integration techniques, just as there are meditation techniques that allow us to raise our vibration and to expand awareness, there are techniques for integrating that into our day-to-day existence. And so, I think the thing that took me a long time to realize is the importance of this. And for too long, I, like many people, thought it was about reaching these higher states of consciousness. And certainly that is one way. Certainly that is one way of developing. But there are other maps, and these maps don't necessitate that we go from one level of consciousness or from cosmic consciousness to bliss or God consciousness to unity consciousness, like that in steps and stages. There are these other maps that are probably more valuable that I had to discover later. And so both this thinking meditation is enough and thinking awakening was about higher states of consciousness that go stepwise, both of those were limiting mistakes that I made that I don't want you to fall prey to. There are other ways. If you're drawn to that, that's wonderful, but I don't want this to take decades for you the way it has taken decades for me. And part of this understanding, and what I really want to emphasize is how important integration is, that there are ways to accelerate the integration of what we experience in meditation into our daily life. Too often we have this concept of evolution as ascending, of transcending the human. And it is actually the case. What I realized, it's about the exact opposite. It's about the descending. It's about bringing heaven to earth. It's not about chasing after heaven. And so it's really about bringing heaven down to earth and integrating it into our daily life. And so it's not about chasing experiences. It's not about just meditating. And your awakening can be accelerated. And even after you awaken, it's important that it become integrated. We're not here to ascend off the planet. We're here to be bringing this high vibration to the planet. We're here to be bringing the light, the love that we're capable of to the planet, to our daily lives. And it's really the case that there's no need to be doing this in stages. While expanding consciousness can be done in stages, it can also be done holistically as we focus more on the energy of love that we can perceive intuitively. And so that's a big topic for another video. But as I went through my meditation career, I also thought, okay, well, I just need advanced techniques. And so I chased after advanced techniques, and I had some experiences of being out of the body. And it was great for recognizing that, we're not just a physical body. But again, there was something that I intuited, that it's really not about having experiences. it's really about integrating and bringing it into the life. And when we expand the heart, when we cultivate the heart, when we integrate that divine love into our beingness, the suffering becomes so much less. And it transforms our life. It transforms our ability to manifest, our ability to attract what we want. And one of the other big mistakes that it took me about 10 years or so to realize, actually maybe a little bit longer than that, is that I assumed that if I had the right techniques, I could do it on my own, that this was kind of a do-it-yourself program. And again, it's not that it's impossible, just as some people spontaneously awaken, it can be done on their own, on our own. But in many ways, I'm coming to realize that in general, we're never meant to do this on our own. That's why having a soul family or a spiritual community or having a mentor becomes so important. And it actually was when I started seeking out some very wise souls and asking them questions that that really spurned a greater integration, that things really started accelerating greatly for me. And so these are just a few of many mistakes that I made, but I'm pointing to a couple of things, and then I think I'll have to leave the rest for another video. There's so many mistakes that I made. We'll leave some of this for another video. But what I'm pointing to is it's important to have a map. It's important to have support. It's important to have not just ways of catching glimpses of awakening or having a different experience, but really ways and techniques for integration and for support in that integration. And so I hope this has been helpful for you. And I hope you know how special it is that you're even interested in accelerating your inner growth and development. And I'll ask you to honor that in yourself and to keep your light shining brightly. The world needs that. So be well and take good care.